The following is a Bergen-Fischer Studios podcast.
I'm a first-generation Canadian. My dad was from Paraguay and my mom is from South Africa. Because both of my parents came from far-off places, as kids my siblings and I were often exposed to foods that other Canadian kids weren't. I remember one time we all sat down to eat supper and my dad put a serving platter down on the table with something gross on it. Now, like I said, we were no strangers to eating strange things sometimes, but the thought of eating this seemed to be pushing it a little too far. I decided that there was no way that was going to be my supper. "Gross," I said to nobody in particular. "It's just a fish," my dad said. "You like fish." "That's not a fish, it's a snake," I cried. My dad was starting to lose patience at this point, but still managing to hold it together somehow. "It's not a snake, it's an eel," my dad explained. "An eel is just a long fish." "I don't like eel," I cried. My dad, ignoring my protests, started serving us. I was near to tears at this point. What kind of monsters would serve this thing to children, I wondered. After my dad said grace, we were expected to start eating. I did not start eating. "What's wrong with your food, son?" Dad asked. "I don't like it," I replied. "How do you know if you haven't tasted it?" he wanted to know. I crossed my arms, determined that this thing would never cross my lips. At this point, my dad was just done with my drama. He got up from his seat and walked around the table to where I was sitting. I started to cower because I was sure he was going to hit me. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to wipe that look off your face. You're going to take a bite. You're going to chew. You're going to swallow. Then, and only then, will you have earned the right to have an opinion about eel." I did my best to assume a neutral facial expression, then put a bite of eel into my mouth. I hated it. I was afraid to tell my dad what I thought until I looked up and saw him smiling at me. I was shocked by what he said. "I didn't expect you to like it. Mom and I like eel, but we figured you kids wouldn't. We have burgers for you. We just wanted you to try something difficult so that you could learn an important lesson. Nobody is entitled to an opinion unless they know what they're talking about. You thought you hated eel, and I ignored you. You now know that you hate eel, and I can respect that. Don't ever forget this meal." Too often we're told that everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I disagree. I was taught that opinions are only valuable if they're informed. I learned that at 6 years old, but most adults I know still haven't figured it out. Do you have an opinion on this? Send me an email. I'd love to hear it.